Welcome back to the show today. We are talking about how bad teams get good. How do you successfully rebuild an NBA team? I'm assuming you have some knowledge of the NBA. So you know in order for a team to get good, they have to be really, really bad. Because the worse you are, the higher draft pick you get. And if you're a team committing to a rebuild, you're gonna want to get rid of every player that has immediate value to your team, or to any team. Because what do you need immediate value for? You're trying to suck, so you can get a good draft pick. This is typically what is called blowing a team up. Personally, I think a better metaphor is scrapping a team for parts. Like a car. Your Pontiac Grand Prix is fast, but you've raced it for years and you haven't won anything. You've decided to get rid of it. You're not gonna junk it though. You're gonna tear it apart and sell those parts to other racers who think they're one part away from winning a race with their Pontiac Grand Prix. So a team that decided to blow it up 2 off seasons ago was the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz were a perennial playoff team and they were good. They made the playoffs for 6 straight seasons. And in 2021, they actually finished at the top of the West. They had an all-star, they had a DPOY, they had a 6th man of the year. It sounds like this team was awesome, so why did they decide to sell the farm? It's because their team was stuck in good team purgatory. That's where a team is good enough to make the playoffs every year and kind of compete, maybe win a round, but they aren't good enough to make the finals or even really be in the conversation for a contender. It's crazy, but NBA fans even get tired of their good team if it suffers the same fate every year, which Quinn Snyder's Utah Jazz definitely did. So in 2022, the Jazz lost to the Dallas Mavericks in the first round of the playoffs. The writing was on the wall. Head coach Quinn Snyder decided to part ways after 8 years with the franchise. And tension between Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell was getting hot. These two did not vibe, and it felt like the media was always talking about it. Danny Ainge, the new CEO of basketball operations, decided he was going to clean house, starting with his 2 star players. First to go was Donovan Mitchell. Mitchell had 4 years left on his contract, and he was highly coveted. A lot of teams wanted it, but the Cavs wanted him the most. The Jazz traded Donovan Mitchell and got back Colin Sexton, Lauri Markkanen, and Ochai Agbaji, the Cavs' first-round draft pick that year. Sexton and Markkanen were actually pretty good players, it just didn't work out in Cleveland. But the real return that Ainge got back were all the draft picks. They got 3 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps. A pick swap is just if your team has a lower draft pick than the team you gave the swap, you swap positions in the draft. Probably didn't need to explain that, but whatever. So the Cavs said, hey, take our future draft picks. We don't want them. We want to be good right now with Donovan Mitchell because he's good. So the Jazz scored a bunch of draft picks and a few good players. Not bad for the Jazz. But if you think the Jazz got a haul back for Donovan Mitchell, wait till you hear what they got for Rudy Gobert. The Minnesota Timberwolves backed up the Brinks truck for this man. They got 5 dudes. Some of those dudes had value. Some of them didn't. We're gonna talk about those dudes that had value later. Hold on. The Jazz really didn't care about the dudes though. They really cared about those draft picks that they were getting back, which were 4 first-round draft picks and a pick swap. The Timberwolves really wanted Rudy Gobert. The Jazz weren't even done trading though. They traded some of those dudes to the Lakers that year for another first-round pick from the Lakers. Dudes like Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt were of value to the Lakers. And remember, the Jazz didn't want players of value. That's why they were willing to take back Russell Westbrook from the Lakers. Let's just say the Lakers weren't happy with Westbrook's production. And unfortunately, his salary was worth 1/3 of the salary cap. This is one thing that rebuilding teams will do. They will eat other teams' bad contracts. They took on Russell Westbrook even though they had no plans on playing him. They were gonna buy him out. They took him because they wanted the first-round pick. The Lakers were able to get rid of Russ's contract and take back a few good players. All they had to give away was 1 draft pick. And then they were in a position where they could compete for the championship that year. And the Jazz did all right. They got more draft capital, and then they just had to pay Russ the rest of his contract money, which was expiring at the end of the year, so it was only a couple $1,000,000. Rebuilding teams love an expiring contract because that contract is over at the end of the season, a season that they weren't trying to win anyway. Then at the end of that season, that player's off their books, and they have a ton of cap space. And if you're a rebuilding team, what you want is cap space so you can sign a player that you really want when he becomes a free agent, and draft picks because those turn into talented players on really cheap rookie contracts. That's exactly what the Jazz have now. But for right now, the Jazz suck because all they have on their team are dudes, and former dude Lauri Markkanen, who's now an all-star. So let's talk about a team that blew it up 4 or 5 years ago and is now totally rebuilt. The Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder are good now. Matter of fact, they finished with the 2nd best record in the whole NBA. The past 3 years have been their rebuilding phase, where they haven't made the playoffs. So let's talk about when the Thunder did decide to blow it up in 2019. The Thunder had just lost to the Blazers in the first round of the playoffs. It was Dame's buzzer beater. Y'all remember. I think I talked about it last week. General manager Sam Presti decided that this era of the Thunder had a good run, but it was time to tear it down and rebuild. So they traded away Paul George to the Clippers. The Paul George trade is the main reason that the OKC Thunder are good today and will be good for the near future. They got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in this trade, and Danilo Gallinari, a dude. Shai had potential, but no one imagined him being an MVP candidate. Also from this trade came the Clippers 2022 pick, which turned into Jalen Williams, the Thunder's #2 scorer. There are still 3 more picks that haven't conveyed from this 2019 trade. The Clippers really wanted Paul George. Now let's talk about the Westbrook trade. Most of the assets from the Westbrook trade haven't been conveyed either. One is a first-round round pick this year and one as a first round pick in 2026. And the Thunder also got back Chris Paul in this trade, who played one season in OKC. And it was a good season. Even after the team had blown it up, they still made the playoffs as the 5th seed. They even played the Rockets, the team they did the trade for with Russ, in the playoffs in 2020. They lost the series, but it was competitive. And the fact that it was competitive with the team that just bought your parts after you blew it up says who won the trade. OKC won the trade. Then after that year, the Thunder were even able to sell high on Chris Paul to the Phoenix Suns. They received a first round pick from that. Also came with 4 dudes to make the salaries match. I don't mean to be disrespectful by calling these guys dudes. All I'm trying to say is that the trade wasn't about them, which feels even more disrespectful, doesn't it? So that pick that came from the Chris Paul trade ended up being Peyton Watson, in which they exchanged a pick from 2027 and a dude, JaMychal Green. A lot of times trades in the NBA end up being like that game where you have a paperclip and you try to trade it until it eventually becomes a Lamborghini. Because an important thing to remember is a pick in 2025 is more valuable than a pick in 2027. Why? Because people value the present more than they value the future. Because the future is not guaranteed. You could die or you could be fired as a general manager and never see that pick. That goes for anything, by the way. Keep that in mind. Sam Presti knew this, and that is why the Thunder are a great team now. And their future is set up. They have all their picks until 2030. And so many of the other teams' first and second round picks that I'm not even going to list them all. You'd get bored. But rebuilding a team is more than just acquiring draft assets and saving money. It's also knowing when to move off of players and when to acquire players. This year, the Thunder traded away Tre Mann in exchange for Gordon Hayward. Tre Mann was a good player, but he didn't really fit this version of the OKC Thunder. And taking on Hayward's expiring contract was a very little risk, had very little downside to it. He's doing all right out there. Alex Pokusevski was the same way. Chet Holmgren just came in and he was a better version of it. So the Thunder ended up cutting him. On the other side of that coin, though, the Sixers released Isaiah Joe, which wasn't crazy. He wasn't a particularly productive player out there. But the Thunder picked him up and now he's one of the most productive bench players in the league. What's going on here? How did Isaiah Joe make a leap from just changing teams? I believe it's because when the Thunder decided to rebuild their team, they also decided to rebuild their culture. Billy Donovan and the Thunder parted ways in 2020. Billy Donovan very much represented that old era of the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Westbrook, Durant, Steven Adams version of the Thunder. The OKC Thunder hired Mark Daigneault, a first-time head coach who was only 35 years old. The perfect coach for a young team. Daigneault didn't have to worry about an old veteran all-star coming in and undermining it. With his own plans for his legacy, he was able to build a bond with the players on his team and a sense of unity and a feeling of camaraderie. Because when you're rebuilding a team, you're not just rebuilding personnel, you're creating an entirely new culture. All right, thank you for being here. If I missed something, let me know. As always, I always reply to everything. If you like the video, like the video. If you didn't like it, go thumbs down on the video. If you have a suggestion of something you'd like to see, I will make a video about it. This is actually a recommendation. So, be good to your mothers. Eat a corn dog.